Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Thursday, the 13th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barry. How are we getting on, Joshua?
Yeah, good, Derek. Bang on time as well, so good start to the day.
Yeah, absolutely bang on time, and well done to the following for getting it spot on. Dean Milne says 9:30, as did Snecky Bear. William Burns also going with 9:30, and Alan McConnell, well done to you, sir. A 9:30 start. That is a great start to the day. You've got it spot on when we are going live, and we're on time once again. So absolutely fantastic stuff. Right, guys, lots to talk about today, as you can see in the title. If you're watching us on Facebook and YouTube this morning, we will announce our special guest. Our Rangers Review live show will take place for the first time ever at New Edmondson House on Friday, the 28th of July. I cannot wait for that event. Joshua will be there. I'll be there. Stevie Clifford will be there, as will Johnny, as well as an extra special guest also. And I'm delighted to say we can now reveal who said special guest will be. Drum roll, please.
Don't know if you can hear that.
One only former Rangers captain, Barry Ferguson. So Barry will be joining us on the night, folks. So we'll get the chance to have a chat with him about his Rangers career and go in depth about his seasons at Ibrox, of course, boyhood Rangers supporter who lived the dream, Joshua.
Yeah, really looking forward to the night. Obviously, having someone like Barry alongside us makes it a bit more special, Derek. He is a bona fide legend. I mean, I really only remember his second spell because I am 23. So when he came back, that's kind of my best memory of him. My kind of most distinctive memory of him playing is that 2007-8 season. I always remember the goal he scored. I think it was Rangers beat Inverness 3-0. I know this is a really dull memory.
Yeah, go on. I remember that.
3-1, yeah, and he scored a great double, and so that always sticks out in my mind. But yeah, listen, it's going to be a great night. The ticket links are in the description, I think, and we're going to have a whole hour-long segment before the break where we kind of do the podcast live. It'll obviously be just before the start of the season as well. We'll have had a few pre-season games by then, so we'll have a segment where we're looking a little bit at what we're seeing and what Beale might be doing. We'll obviously discuss all the new signings, Stevie and Johnny there as well. Johnny will have a few hot takes to share with the audience. And then obviously, we'll have a special segment with Barry as well. So yeah, really looking forward to the evening. Barry will make it extra special and look forward to hopefully meeting a lot of subscribers as well.
Yeah, cannot wait for that and delving into Barry's career. For me, I did remember his first time. I actually remember when he came through, and then Walter gave him a run out just at the end of his tenure. And then Advocate, of course, placed his trust in him, and he just ran the show from then on. I always remember Leverkusen away is one that sticks out in my mind, setting up the goal for, I believe it was Johansson, was it, folks? You can let me know, or the Van Bronckhorst goal. Let us know in the comments. I do get mixed up about that, but that 2-1 win over there in Leverkusen, he really shone, and he was outstanding for Rangers in that midfield. Even then, there's a comment came in, he still stars in the Legends games and still looks. I totally agree. I've seen him in a few Legends games, and it looks like he could still do the business. Dean Milne says it was a mascot to Barry Ferguson back in January 2009. Against St Johnstone. Absolutely fantastic. Well, if you're at the event, Dean, on Friday the 28th of July, perhaps we can recreate that little image of you as a mascot back then. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Barry will be joining us at that Rangers Review live. Dane Life says great captain. He absolutely was. He was superb. Actually, when I was in Bangkok for the ORSA convention, Big Ammo was over there, and we got on to the 2002 Scottish Cup final. Of course, the famous win over Celtic and the late Lovenkrands winner. And we discussed that free kick as well, and Barry's tremendous free kick that levelled matters at 2 apiece. And I asked Big Ammo if he fancied having a crack at the free kick himself. And of course he did. But I think it's legendary that Barry told him he was on that specific free kick, and the rest, of course, is history. So yeah, cannot wait for that. As Joshua said, folks, The link to buy tickets is in the description box. There are still a few remaining, so be quick, get them before they run out. But just over 2 weeks away now. So cannot wait to head over and take part in that. So listen, it's been absolutely sensational. Right, let's move on, Joshua. There's other news, of course, affecting Rangers. The big news, we discussed it with Ewan yesterday, that Leon Balogun was heading out to Germany to re-sign for Rangers. He has now signed. He's put pen to paper on a 1-year deal. A nice little announcement video from Rangers. I've got to say that the media team out there are doing the cracking work, doing a sterling job. But they were asking all the players, what made you sign for Rangers? And then at the end, they cut to Leon Balogun as well. But he gives some quotes. He says, "I'm just excited, to be honest. It's still a bit unreal, but it's very real. So I'm just really, really happy to be back at Rangers. It feels like coming home. Since I've left, I have always felt a lot of appreciation and love from friends I have made in Glasgow and around the club. And now that I am back, it is nice to say the least. I know second is no option. I know what people are going to say very quickly if we are not performing. So it is time to get to work, put our best foot forward, and make sure we get the results that we need." Seen mixed reaction to this signing yesterday on social media, Joshua. I think as cover, I'm all on board with it. I'm not expecting him to be playing regularly every week, but with the injury sustained by Leon King, I think centre-back positions at the moment, slight concerns with big games coming up. I've got no qualms with him coming back in and assisting where needed, and he's also a big character in the dressing room.
Yeah, there's kind of two sides to this, Derek, isn't there? And we spoke about this on the members video as well yesterday, went into a little bit more depth about the centre-back situation. I mean, if Balogun was coming in to play a lot of games and as one of your kind of first 2-3 choice centre-backs, then I think that's a step into the past. You know, this window's been all about looking forward. It's been very much a break from the past, not only if you look at the kind of breaking up of the spine of the squad that was built in 2018 under Steven Gerrard, the fact that it's the biggest rebuild in a number of years, but also what's happened off the pitch. You know, change is kind of present absolutely everywhere, and signing a defender who you let go a year ago, admittedly under a different manager, and that should be noted. You know, it's not as if Beale had let him go last season and brought him back, then maybe that's a bit of a different discussion. But I think you're right to say if it is cover, it's a different conversation. I've got some of Beale's quotes here in his Rangers TV interview last night, which had a lot of interesting segments to it, I thought. He said, "I have a lot of trust in him. We're going to have a lot more going in and out, talking about players. We have a really fixed idea on the work we're doing that's ongoing. Hence, with the Leon King situation, we want to act fast. Leon Balogun is someone I've been speaking to in the last few weeks." So I think that kind of qualifies what everyone knows, that this is cover. You know, Leon King didn't play many minutes under Michael Beale last season. I don't think his role was as one of the first 3 choice centre-backs, and if you're presuming another one will come in as well, you're probably banking on Rangers having 5 players in that position. Now, Balogun, I think he had injury issues when he played too much, but again, it's a different conversation if he's having to play the odd game or help see out the odd game. There's always risk attached, I think, to bringing players back who are older and who are deemed not good enough at different times. But again, it's a different manager to when Balogun left. And Beale obviously took him to QPR as well. He also said in his interview that we lost a lot of experience in the summer, mentioned the reception that Balogun had in the camp, obviously a kind of very popular figure. And who knows how long away that goes. So, yeah, I think there's 2 segments. This window has been very much about looking forward. There's been a lot of exciting signings. I think when the name Leon Balogun came back up, a lot of people were very surprised. Also, when he left the club, Derek, I think there's probably a lot of people who would have liked to have kept him around for a bit longer. So if it's as cover, I think you can sell it as it makes sense. But equally, you know, you go back to the Champions League qualifiers a couple of seasons ago when Balogun had a really difficult game against Cholak when Rangers are facing Malmo. You know, you don't want to be in that position. Fast forward 2 seasons and we're playing the kind of same players in the defence. I think if Balogun's there as cover, then it makes sense. A little bit more experience in the group. But it's obviously imperative that Rangers get more depth at centre-back. And I think that was the case before the Leon King injury. And I think Beale's quotes there about 1 in, 1 out in that situation kind of qualifies that.
Yeah, lots of comments coming in. Let's get to a few of them. Firstly, Nick Brown says, "Good day, Derek. It was a pleasure meeting you in Bangkok. Still not back in Perth yet. It was a pleasure also having a chat with you, buddy. And shout out to your son Kobe as well, if he's watching us. I'm a tad jealous you're still in Bangkok or wherever you are in Thailand. Absolutely brilliant place over there. So great to have your company on a Thursday morning or a Thursday afternoon where you are, Nick. Gordon Bain on Balogun says, I'm pleased to see Balogun back at the club. I think it's important to have people who care so much about the club in the dressing room. Is this an unpopular opinion? I don't think it is, Gordon. I think Rangers need, I think we've discussed this. Not too sure if it was when Stevie and Ewan were on a couple of days ago, but having guys in there that know what Rangers is all about. Joshua, he was part, of course, of the 55 campaign with the likes of Scott Arfield departing. We've had Alan McGregor leave, of course, as well. I think it's important Rangers have some big voices in that dressing room and know what it is to play for a club of this magnitude.
Yeah, I always stray on the kind of other side of the argument that I think that matters, but I think he'd always prioritise footballing ability first. Obviously, as you say, it does matter that people, perhaps more than understanding the significance, understand the pressures and that you just can't lose, and that it draws an absolute nightmare, and a loss is kind of unthinkable. Todd Cantwell is someone that I think very quickly understood how to appeal to certain aspects of the fan base, and that will get you quite far as a football player, as well as being obviously the excellent player that he is. There is an important point that Rangers at the moment are very light at centre back, because Connor Goldson, although Beale, and we'll get to this, Derek, but although Beale had a positive update on his injury situation, he is, is he going to be fully fit for the start of the season? Remains to be seen. You don't want to be going into Champions League qualifiers without a fully fit back line. Ben Davies had up and down first season. I still think that sometimes he was kind of under the microscope too much. But what I would agree with is that he doesn't play his best football, I don't think, when he's not next to a dominant centre half. No one really had the opportunity to build up any partnership last season, apart from that spell over Christmas when Davies and Goldson played next to one another. And obviously no one really had a standout or a good individual season regardless. And then you look at John Souttar, who is someone who looked to overcome his injury issues towards the end of last season. He's spoken himself in pre-season about I guess the different approach to his injury last season, where it wasn't about rushing him back at all. It was trying to play the long game. And when he's fully fit, you see how good a player he is. When he's fully fit, I don't think there's any doubt that he plays. He can obviously play on the left-hand side as well. The start of the season when he played against Livingston, and then was obviously injured after that game. It certainly didn't look like he was at full fitness. But can you hang your hat on him being fit for games yet? You probably need to see more of an uninterrupted spell in the first team. And maybe because of his injury history, he's always going to have an element of rotation because of the number of serious injuries that he's suffered. So the Balogun transfer makes sense because it gives you immediate cover. And again, Ewan and I spoke about this in the members video. There is still a long way to go in the transfer window, because Rangers have done so much of their business so early. That maybe doesn't feel like it's the case, but we're still a few weeks away from the first competitive game. I think most people would be banking on Rangers signing a player in that centre of defence, who they'd have signed again, regardless of that Leon King injury. Talking about perhaps a profile of player that Rangers lack there. I know Dujon Sterling said quite bluntly, but I quite liked the confidence he had in his press conference to know where he's good and where he wants to play, that he's not a centre-back. Again, Ewan and I spoke about this yesterday. Calvin Bassey had a similar thought process, and you see where that ended up. But I certainly think that you can look at the profile of player that Rangers have in the centre of defence at the moment, and you can see maybe what's lacking and what Beale will want to add on that left side of defence. So that's going to happen regardless of the Balogun deal. The key bit is that that gets done before the start of the season, so that Balogun is covered instead of one of your starting centre-backs in the Champions League qualifiers. Yeah,
Michael Beale talked about Balogun re-signing. He said Leon is a person that I have full trust in, both as a footballer and a man. He is extremely well liked by everyone inside the club, and we are very happy to have someone with his experience and leadership qualities rejoining our squad. Naturally, he will integrate back into the club very quickly, and he understands fully our way of working and style of play. As a free agent, we were able to move quickly so that he could join us here in Germany. It was really nice to see the reception he received from the players and staff on joining us here at the camp. Now, let's get to lots of comments coming in with regards to that. Colin Williams says, QPR fans raved about Balogun for their early season dominance last season. If anyone knows his abilities, it's Beale. And a comment here from Mark says, well, Ewan was saying yes, that there's no chance of Davis leaving. Now, I'd still like to see him go. I don't think he'll be leaving at this point in time, Joshua, but there's been no sort of murmurings with regards to him leaving at this moment in time. I would be opposed to that until we see perhaps bodies come in. Listen, I wouldn't have no qualms if he was part of the matchday squad, part of the first team squad, next season, Ben Davis. But I don't think Rangers can afford to allow defenders of that calibre leave the building with these huge games coming up.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will be going in that area before anyone arrives. But equally, you look at and Stevie Clifford's column is on the website this morning, and you can read that as well. He speaks about this. The squad is quite bloated at the moment. It's not only the profile of players that Beale wants to change this summer, but he spoke about it a few times, didn't he? This squad, which was too bloated, too many numbers in specific areas. And I guess that's probably one of the difficult bits of the transfer window that kind of goes under the radar. Not only do you need to free up money and wages, but just actual space in the squad, because the squad is quite big at the moment. I think especially at the top end of the pitch, if you look at the options in the front three positions, I'm not going to reel them off the top of my head because I'll inevitably forget a few. But there's too many players there, and there's probably not enough in the back end. So you'd expect that will happen, but then does that sometimes make negotiations more difficult, because clubs that you're buying from know that you need to get rid of players, and equally clubs who might come in and buy those players know you still need them as covers. So I guess this is all the politics of the transfer window. But I'd be surprised if, I think the focus will be the Champions League qualifiers. You need to have your squad in the best possible shape, because Rangers could have really difficult games. Obviously, they have those 4 or 5 friendlies lined up, and then the start of the Premiership season just before those Championship qualifiers, Champions League qualifiers. That will be the focus, and the defence is going to be so important to that, because Rangers had a terrible season last season, but what they did well was those 4 games against USG and PSV, or maybe if you disclude the first game against USG, and the team looked really ready. And although it would go on to be a really disappointing season, and what looked like good foundations didn't really materialise. Then you had Tillman starting quick, you had Lawrence who had come in, Cholak scored in both legs against PSV, and the team looked ready for those matches. And that's obviously going to be the important thing, which I'm sure they will be on a fitness point of view, but also the players you have available come the start of August when those games come round.
Let's get to 1 or 2 more comments that come in. Firstly, a nice comment here from Day in the Life. He says, easy to become a member of Rangers Review. Well worth the money. Great work, lads. Thank you very much, buddy. Very much appreciated. Tam Brown says, on Balogun, he signed his cover for 1 season. We're not building the team around him. Makes sense short term. And Stuart Stevens says, great to see Balogun back as a backup option. We'd like to think we're still in the market for another left-sided centre-back. Davis just doesn't do it for me. And just off the back of that, Michael Beale, of course, those comments. Broxy loves the Rangers Review, says on the plus side in Beale's interview, he touched on the players who were injured, and it sounds like many of them will be back earlier than expected. He touched on Goldson and Kemar Roof. I'll just read what he said. Just on the injury front, we've had some excellent news that Connor Goldson is progressing very well, and Tom Lawrence will join the team the moment we return home. Kemar Roof has joined in the last 2 sessions, so it's really pleasing that we're making great strides. I think having Mark Waller back working with John Irwin in this team is a real benefit for everyone. He's got a slight calf strain. This is Dujon Sterling. Dujon worked extremely well over the summer. He came back powerful and strong. He looked like one of the fittest in the group. Unfortunately, he's picked up a small problem. It's a 10 to 12-day problem. It was easier for us to keep him at home because we've got a group of players at home in Tom Lawrence, Stephen Davis and Connor Goldson working there, as well as 1 or 2 of the international players reporting back at the end of the week. It made sense for them to go to Glasgow rather than come here to work. So we do have a working staff at home. That's encouraging, Joshua. Mainly Connor Goldson is the one that stands out for me. I think the initial prognosis, of course, was 10 weeks. That was just at the back end of last season. But saying that there's excellent news on Connor Goldson, that he's progressing very well, is very encouraging. Of course, good news on Tom Lawrence and Kemar Roof as well. But Goldson is a big one for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he saw his importance last season when he wasn't there. I think he came back a little bit early, if memory serves me correctly. Last time he had the serious injury, which is probably something that bodes well. You just hope that Goldson, getting a little bit older and having played so many games over the last few seasons and having had those 2 injuries, that this isn't going to be a regular pattern, because I guess that defense is built around him being able to play a lot of games. And Tom Lawrence, who we haven't seen playing, it will almost be a year since he went down at home against Ross County again. You look at the options behind the striker now, and you've got Lammers, Lawrence, Hadji, Lowry, Cantwell, presuming that maybe sometimes Lammers will play up a line or Cantwell will play down a line. But Beale, speaking in his Rangers TV interview, I think it was his first one he did in pre-season, he called Lammers a number 10. And I think if you look at the interest in bringing another striker in alongside Dessers and Sima, who we can speak about at some point as well, because I think he's a really interesting profile, then you're probably going to see Lammers, I think, play just off them in a lot of matches. So there's so much competition in that area of the pitch. Where's Alex Lowry going to get his minutes? Yanis Hadji's at a key point in his career. And although Beale's side will have 2 or 3 of those creators in a lot of teams, I think you're always really going to see him play with 2 forwards, 2 strikers, as you did towards the tail end of last season. And then you've got to consider you've still got Fashion Sakala around, who, again, splits opinion, but got a lot of numbers for Beale last season. And you've got Antonio Cholak, who we've spoken about before. And then you've got someone like Kemar Roof, who can't be counted upon, but if he's fully fit, he's an option in there as well. So the top end of the pitch, really congested. Lawrence coming back adds to that, but I think Beale is in a better position now where he can trim down, as opposed to what he had last season, which was really no options at all, or consistent options that he was able to rely on at the top end of the pitch. You think back to especially those Old Firm games towards the tail end of last season, where Rangers just I think box to box, there wasn't much of a difference there at all. I think you saw how much how much improvement there was in that regard in terms of getting into the final third. But when you get to the final third, you need players who are going to be consistent and finish things off. And certainly the investment in that area has been needed. Now, I guess it's about refining the options up there.
Yes, absolutely. Let's get to a few comments that are coming in. First of all, Dave Fulton says, did Michael Beale not say Lawrence will be back in the group when they return from Germany, or did I imagine that? No, that is what he said, Dave. He will return once the players return from Germany to join in with the team, which is encouraging news, of course. He did also name check Mark Waller coming back. I think that could be the signing of the summer. Joshua getting the dock back at Ibrox. And of course, he said that he said it himself. Michael Beale says that I think having Mark Waller back working with John Irwin and his team is a real benefit for everyone. Absolutely. I don't think Rangers can afford another season like we endured last season in terms of injuries.
No, absolutely not. I think you saw the reaction when Mark Waller came back, so would very much agree with that, and telling that Beale name checked him yesterday as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to have him back at the club. A day in the life saying, when is Rangers' first friendly? The Alan McGregor testimonial takes place on Tuesday, the 18th of July. So not long to go until we're back in action at Ibrox. Cannot wait for that. Of course, taking on a very, very good side in Newcastle United. It'll be great to say a proper goodbye to Alan McGregor as well. And of course, we've got the experimental singing section, don't we, in the Copeland Road stand. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes as well. I'm sure it's going to be a cracking turnout at Ibrox on Tuesday. But yeah, that is when Rangers kick off their series of friendlies. We've also got Hamburg 4 days later on the Saturday at Ibrox, which is sure to be another fantastic occasion before the Greek giants Olympiacos come to town on Wednesday, the 26th of July. Rangers rounding off their pre-season friendly campaign away to Hoffenheim on Saturday, the 29th of July. That's a 2:30 p.m. kickoff. That one in Ewan will be in Germany for us to bring us all the fallout from that. And I'm sure he'll be looking to speak to Bears who are making their way over to that game as well. So looking forward to that one. Let's get to a few more comments that are coming in. In fact, before we do that, let's go to Dujon. I mean, there's so much Rangers news yesterday. It's hard to keep up. But Dujon Sterling, of course, he was speaking at the media day. It was embargoed, so it was released yesterday. I'll just give you a flavour of what was said. He was asked, how was your first week at the club? It's been really good. I've been building chemistry with the lads and everyone has welcomed me pretty well. We're just trying to build chemistry to reach our goals for the season. He was asked, you've played in different positions in your career. What do you think are your key strengths? I like to prioritise my defending. A lot of defenders now get judged on their stats and what they do up the pitch, but defensively, they're not great. I like to make sure I do my defending with my one-on-one battles and then go forward to express myself, knowing my teammates and defenders have trusted me to defend. Do you see yourself as a centre-back? I don't play centre-back. I play right-back or left-back. I can fill in at centre-back, and I'm happy to, but I wouldn't say that my strength is playing at centre-back. He was then asked, can Tavernier and Goldson be role models after their success following moves from England? I've watched Tav and Connor play when I've watched Rangers on TV. They've been the main guys, and that's why they've been around for so long. It's great to learn from them in training every day, especially Tav, as he plays the same position as me. He was then asked, how's it been with Tavernier so far? Really good. He was the first one who messaged me when I signed. He welcomed me and said to let him know if I need anything. On the training pitch, we've been on different teams, and it's been good to see the difference between us. And then he was asked about his relationship with Michael Beale. I worked with him when I was 13, but I first met him when I was like 7 or 8 in development centres around London. When you're younger at Chelsea, you start at development centres from 6, and you do that for 2 years before joining the academy. He was the head of South London, and I was North. But when I arrived, he was dealing with the under-14s, and I played up. He was then asked about, how's your first conversation with the manager? Because you had lots of interest in England. I had loads of interest in England, but the way he presented it and explained how I'd fit in was something that I couldn't turn down. Rangers being a big club was the icing on the cake. He was then asked about competing with James Tavernier for that right back slot. It's about competing together, but I'm not just tied down to one role. I can play many roles in this team, so I don't fear Tav being the captain at right back. It's about competition, and we need competition in every area of the pitch. That's how everyone gets better and nobody slips off. You need that for the whole season, and there's more than one game every week. And then he was obviously asked about the deciding factor in choosing Rangers over other options. Europe is number one, and Rangers is a big club with a big fan base. I can see the togetherness at the club. And I spoke to Calvin Bassey before I arrived because we are close. He said it was one of the best places to come. With his words, the gaffer's words, and the club in general, I had to come. There's more, folks. You can find the transcript on the website, and you can also watch Dujon's interview on our YouTube channel as well. But speaks very well, Joshua, I thought. It was clear, I think this has been said before he joined, that he is a defender first and foremost. He isn't a marauding right back as James Tavernier is. He likes to do his defensive work first before getting forward. But by all accounts, he did say there was interest from other clubs. I know that Stoke City were very keen on bringing him in permanently. But Michael Beale, I think, did wonders again in selling Rangers to him, not to mention the club itself. And it's good to have him on board.
Yeah, and he spoke in you can find this on the website as well, but his interview with the newspapers, which is separate, he spoke about the importance of Beale going to meet him. He called, having worked with him for a little bit of time, he was speaking about Beale being a tactical genius, so he wasn't kind of holding back in that regard. I really liked the way he spoke when he was asked about playing at centre-back, and I know there was a few comments about what's he trying to suggest with the fullback comment and saying won't play centre-back. I think that's just a player who knows what he's good at and has a strong mentality. Of course, if he needs to play there, I'm sure he's not going to turn around and say no and obviously confirm that. What Rangers haven't had, though, I think is, and there's a thread on my Twitter page yesterday which kind of broke this down in a bit more detail. They've not had a fullback who kind of, I think in European competition, say you're playing a Liverpool or a Napoli, and you know you're going to come up against a particularly strong winger on either side of the pitch. They've not had a fullback who's there to specifically able to, I guess, lock down that player, which is important. But it gives you the option of going to a back three as well and playing in that right centre back slot, stepping up. He can be aggressive and has the ability to step into the midfield. But the most interesting trait for me, Derek, is he's quite two-footed. And yes, that gives you the versatility between right back and left back. But again, more detail on this on my Twitter page. But in effect, what I think that gives you is with the ball, teams really press a lot by the side of the pitch. It's what Rangers do, press from inside to out, press at full back because you've got the touchline there acting as another defender. And most defenders are pretty one-footed. How often are you going to see Borna Barisic, for example, take the ball inside on his right foot and with his right foot find the strikers?
Well, the times he did it last season, he scored 2 belting goals. One against Blackpool, which I was there at Bloomfield Road, and he also done it in Napoli, but it was ruled out because Ryan Kent was offside. So do it more, Borna.
Do it more. Okay, well, let's say in the build-up, then deeper in the pitch, but fair point. But, you take my point. He's not a progressive passer who's going to, on his right foot, play through the lines. And I don't think, I'm not saying Sterling is necessarily, but I think that gives you a lot of options. That's a completely new profile that Rangers haven't had. And again, there's examples of that in the piece on my Twitter page. And then against the ball, in the same way that an attacker or a midfielder, if you have your stronger foot, you're going to try and work the ball onto that. You're going to try and work specific angles to get the ball onto your right foot. Most players have a favoured foot, maybe aside from someone like a Sam Lammers or a Yanis Hadji, who really are two-footed. And I think in the same way that extends to defenders. They have a dominant leg that they want to play with, and it's why maybe you see at times managers play a wrong-sided fullback or an inverted fullback to try and defend on their right side. If you're playing against a left-footed right winger, say, then you sometimes see managers play a right-footed left back so that they're defending on the strong side. Sterling has strength on either side, and again, I think that's just another option, another small detail, but perhaps an important profile that Rangers haven't had in their squad before. And coming in at 23, Ewan did a brilliant piece with one of his former coaches at Chelsea, just speaking about his career and his potential and how highly he was rated. He's another player that's in this mould of Rangers trying to sign a bit of quality that hasn't quite flourished yet. And Beale knows him as well. So he's another player, again, that needs this move to work at 23. He's now got a consistent home, like someone like Sam Lammers, who's been on loan a number of times in the last few years. And certainly on that profile, really interesting profile, which I think will give Beale more options from game to game and in-game as well.
Yeah, thanks to Dean Milne for correcting me. It was against Ajax. Borna scored that belter of a goal in the Amsterdam arena, but unfortunately Ryan Kent had strayed offside. I think we'll wrap up there. Thanks to everyone for interacting with the show, and thanks to Derek for posting this lovely message here. He says, first time posting in the chats today. I'm so excited about our new team. Thanks, Derek, for your hard work. Best channel on YouTube. Well, thank you very much for your kind words, Derek. It's very much appreciated. And thanks to everyone. Thanks to Joshua and all those who have watched the show this morning. Remember, if you want to subscribe and join our members channel, over 300 have done so since we launched last month. You'll get extra content every week. And as Joshua said, there was a great video I did with Ewan yesterday, so do go and check it out. There's an interview I did with Stuart Monroe on there as well, over at the ORSA convention in Bangkok. So plenty to get stuck into. We'll be back again tomorrow to talk all things Rangers. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Bye for now.